Hi folks, my name is Gerdes and here are the three big stories for today. So we were talking about Sirski over the last few days and Zaluzhniy being replaced, and I think if I'm seeing this carefully or clearly enough, that it's not just Zelensky replacing Zaluzhniy, but there's a larger military shakeup, and that's actually a good sign in a sense that it's not just a political axe to grind against Zaluzhniy. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky appointed Major General Anatoly Borilyevich as Ukraine's new chief of the general staff, and at the same time, Ukraine's first deputy defense minister Alexander Pavlyuk has been dismissed from his government post around February 10th, the latest major shakeups. Okay, so there's more to the story. Now, Zelensky was dissatisfied with the military for a couple of reasons. Zaluzhniy with making his public claims about the 500,000 needed soldiers. And then there was the issue with corruption, whether it was in financing or whether it was within letting people off the hook from military service. There were a few different scandals. They didn't reach the level at the top, but nonetheless, it was on their watch. I think they're trying to get a reset, and that's all the story is there. I don't think there's a political axe to grind. Okay, and here we see Zaluzhniy getting the Hero of Ukraine award as he's on his way out, and it's well deserved. Okay, second story, while Elon Musk is talking about it's time to stop Ukraine's meat grinder, hostilities should have ended in 2023, and I agree, it should have ended in 2023, but ended the right way. Responding to Biden's criticism of Congress over Ukraine, Musk says it's time to stop the meat grinder, adding that this should have been done a year ago. Of course, this is being reported in RT, but you should have done it the right way. Here's the Poland's former president. Our grandchildren will never forgive us. Wallace says world's moment to forge Russia's new future is now. Former Polish President Lech Walesa, who was in the United States Capitol this week with a message for Americans about the importance of continuing their support for Ukraine, says the world currently has a unique opportunity to forge a political change in Russia and should not let it pass. Now, I've thought this for a while, but the more that you understand the Soviet Union, the more you understand history in that region of the world, the more you are likely to be arrayed against Russia and in Ukraine's favor, in my estimation. The 80-year-old labor leader turned politician and Nobel Peace Prize winner said that he came to Washington mainly to stress the importance of commanding the information space and to encourage the country not to retreat from its leadership role. Wallace said that fate has given the United States the role of leader in meeting these challenges, and it cannot retreat now. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be the world leader, you got to be the world leader, even when it kind of isn't fun to be the world leader. Says our grandchildren will never forgive us if it does, he said. The co-founder of Poland's Solidarity Movement, who served from 1990 to 1995 as Poland's first post-communist president, said that he fought his struggle against the Soviet Union and the Warsaw Pact more than 40 years ago, mainly with information. So, again, the guy that was there at the very beginning of the dissolution of the Soviet Union, who was on the bleeding edge, literally, of the former Soviet Union's decline, stood up to the Soviet Union, is the guy saying that, you know, our grandchildren will never forgive us. We have to choose the right path now. And I think that's correct. Okay, there's lots of fallout from the Tucker Carlson Putin interview, and I thought, well, this is really interesting. Here he is on Twitter, and he's had amazing success. If you just look by view count, 184 million views. Okay, so that's really interesting. But what actually did he accomplish? Here is my take on it, and mercifully, in my take, I just said, okay, here are my notes. I took pages and pages of notes about it, and that's good because other people who were doing a reaction video to what Putin was saying in the Tucker interview actually had it taken down by YouTube, when isn't Twitter supposed to be all about free speech, but YouTube was taking it down at their behest? I thought that was really interesting. Constantine, Mercado Media. Okay, at any rate, here's The Economist, and just let's look at the cartoon. President Putin, you are a murderer, a thug, and a convicted war criminal. Well, he's not convicted war criminal. He's an accused war criminal, but nonetheless. What I don't understand is, why does the Western lamestream media hate you so much? Now, he didn't even ask these questions, and that's really the problem with what was happening in the Putin interview. Okay. Julia Davis pointed out that Putin missed his cue to portray himself as a supposed defender of Christianity and break into a tirade about Satanism. And I thought, there's something really right about that. Tucker lobbed him a few softballs about that. What does it mean to be an Orthodox Christian? And questions along these lines, like, how spiritual are you? He didn't say it in quite those words, but essentially he was talking about being a spiritual person. And Putin went on this weird answer trail about the Roman Empire and the Mongols or something. It was just really bizarre. Like, this was ready-made for him to say the things that would have resonated with Christians in the West, and he missed it. Like, it's like he didn't get the memo, and I thought that was really strange. Anton Gerashenko said Russian telegram channels reported that the interview with Carlson and Carlson himself was not to Putin's liking. It was considered a failure. They say that the problem is the unpreparedness of the interview arrangement. Putin should have talked about conservative values. This is what I'm just talking about now. The creation of a conservative alliance and moving on. But then he went into history and platitudes about Ukraine. Like, why was he so focused on talking about history, 1200 and 1600 and whatever else? Well, we'll talk about that in a moment. According to reports, Putin didn't like Tucker Carlson, quote, a snob and a useful idiot who got a meaningful fee but was lazy and lacked creativity. Kovalchuk family believes that they could have done better with Tucker Carlson, but, quote, everything was wasted, unquote. There's a wave of complaints in the Kremlin. So apparently Putin wasn't happy with the interview. Here's another one tender. The Tucker-Putin interview is only a day in the past, and it devolves already in an absolute failure for Putin. The distorted history lesson of Eastern Europe was an absolute blunder. Like, Putin went on for almost a half hour about this. It is even in Russian social media space where people are rather dismayed about the trajectory of this interview. Putin is very much trapped in his deluded world and then makes decisions as before February 24th for a full-scale invasion in which even many in his circle call ludicrous. So what remains of this interview? Well, nothing good for Putin and his followers. Putin's incessant behavior in distorting history and reality devolved into an own goal. Claiming that it was Poland and not Hitler who forced World War II to happen is, even for the hardcore follower, a tough pill to swallow. I mean, that's basically what he argued here. However, Tucker and Putin achieved something. They created a new meme template, which is flooding the social media channels. In other words, the exact opposite of what both wanted to achieve. And so here's mine, for example, when we're talking about the meme template. There's caption contest with a credulous face. What does this mean? Okay, well, that'll be lots of fun on the internet, but I don't think Tucker achieved what he was trying to achieve. So this is Chris Wallace, Tucker's former colleague at Fox News. I want you to listen to what he has to say about the interview.
Carlson showed up in Moscow this week to interview Vladimir Putin. It turned out to be anything but an interview. Putin droned on for 2 hours and 7 minutes, while Tucker sat there like an eager puppy. Occasionally, but rarely, he got in a question, like this one about the power of the deep state in Washington.
Now, I'm not going to show the actual question because of the censorship issues that I showed before, so I'm skipping ahead, and then we're going to hear what else Chris Wallace has to say.
But more telling than what Tucker asked is what he didn't ask.
That's right. He didn't ask the hard questions, and he really could have. He squandered that opportunity.
Nothing about why Putin invaded a sovereign country. Nothing about targeting civilians. Nothing about Russian war crimes. A reporter can ask Putin a tough question if he wants a real interview. Why is it that so many of the people that oppose Vladimir Putin end up dead or close to it? But apparently...
And he asked that question when he was on Fox News. So it's not even that Fox News is the problem. But Chris Wallace was asking tough questions, and Tucker Carlson simply did not.
That's not why Tucker went to Moscow. During the Cold War, gullible Westerners who spread Soviet propaganda were dismissed as useful idiots. But calling Tucker that is unfair to useful idiots. No, he's made a cynical decision to chase MAGA's affection for dictators. And what better way to cash in than Putin's Kremlin?
But here's the thing, it didn't really work. Like, the interview kind of fell flat. Last little bit that I want to show you is this. This is Yaroslav, the Savage Sage. I've highlighted his videos before. He does excellent work. Here's what he has to say to Jonathan Fink of Silicon Curtain.
Everything was as expected. Everybody played their expected role. Putin was lying, and Tucker Carlson was not asking a tough question, was not a journalist. So I don't see how this interview changed anything. It's just interesting to notice how delusional Putin is, and you can kind of start seeing the cocoon he's living in. I believe the cocoon is created because everybody is afraid to give him honest information, to give him honest feedback.
So now we're looking at Putin instead of Tucker, and I think he's right that his underlings aren't really telling him the truth of what's going on, and I think that's a big piece of the puzzle that we're missing in this whole story. We keep focusing on Tucker. What about what Putin was trying to communicate? He squandered his opportunity, and he kind of didn't even know that he should say different things. So, okay, that's what the three big stories are. So what do you think? Put it in the comments below. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and the coffees, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.